Hi everybody, this is a quick tutorial on using Google Earth to do one or more of your assignments. So I've gone to Google Chrome and I just typed in Google Earth, and the first link you see here doesn't say it specifically, but when you click on it you can see that it takes you to Google Earth on the web. And that's perfectly fine for just your basic application. You can see down here in the corner that when we start moving around, we get different values showing up. The main thing on this page is, of course, you can search for your location, but opening up a project when you want to put a pin in something and be able to come back to it. You can also find the pen down here, as well as drawing a line or a shape. So let's just say, for example, I'm doing Hurricane Gloria, which was Virginia Beach, Virginia. Virginia Beach, Virginia. So I'm going to click here. And more specifically, I realized I want to do the pier at Virginia Beach. So let me be more specific and say the Virginia Beach Pier. So I keep zooming in, and as I get in here, I'm really starting to get close up. So for this particular assignment, I want to know what is the coastal elevation when it made landfall. So you can see where my mouse is right here by the fishing pier. And down here in the right hand corner is where my elevation is, as well as my lat and lon. The camera is how high above the ground is my altitude looking at this picture. If I scroll out here, my camera gets higher and higher, and you do tend to lose sometimes your elevation because it gets so far away that it's hard to tell what it is. So, but again, our goal is to zoom in here and see what was the landfall at the pier. And so I'm going to zoom in here, and I have a pen already, but that's not necessarily, if I put my mouse where that pen is, it says -1 meters. But if I come over here and click, you can see that it's actually more like 19 centimeters, maybe even a little bit of elevation. You could come all the way over here to where the boardwalk is, where it's 2 meters. And so somewhere in this vicinity is where you're going to want to put your mouse. So I want to mark a pen. I can either click a quick place mark here, and boop, there's my pen. And this is Landfall Gloria, and save. And what I did by clicking down here is I very quickly circumvented a couple steps. I could have easily also said create a project, make a new project, which would have been one of these options up here, and then click a new feature. And if I wanted to add another pen, I could add another pen or search for another place. So by going down here to these two options, I kind of saved myself a few steps, all right? And if I wanted to, I could copy the project or make a new project. So that's one of the ways to do it. And then when I'm ready, of course, I take my screenshot, which would be a matter of, for Microsoft, the Windows icon, and then print screen, and you see my computer go dark, and now I have auto saved this picture. And when I go to turn it in, this dot will have corresponded to this value. And as I move my mouse around, the value in the corner changes, but where my dot is exactly where my mouse should be when I take that screenshot. So one more time, I'm taking the screenshot where my dot is, because my mouse is what's telling me my elevation. So if I move my mouse over here to the end of the pier, you can see in the bottom right corner that that's 5 meters. And that's not what we want, and that's actually measuring the pier. If I move offshore, that's -1 meters. I wanted to know where it is between the ocean and the coastline when storm surge comes through. So I move my mouse right here, and I take my screenshot at -19 centimeters. Okay, so that's one quick, easy way to do it. There are some applications I'm going to ask for you guys where it will be better to have the Google Earth Pro. So when I go back here to my original search for Google Earth, you can see this was the link that took us to the web. I can click here and say, what are the versions of Earth that I could get? You can launch it here, which is no different than what we just did, same as this link that's launching it on the web. You could also download these same, like on the web, but more of an app that is appropriate for your mobile device, or which has way more options for you to play around with. You could download it to your desktop. So when I click here on the desktop, it's going to say, is this the Windows version? And it should know whether you have a Mac or a Windows. If you're not sure, you can also come here and search Google Earth Pro Mac. When you do that, you will see that it's going to tell you whether it's a PC or a Mac. It's going to download the appropriate one for you, and it makes a note here that you do not need to pay for this, but you might need a license key. Now, usually it auto-generates it, but if it asks for anything, use your email address, and then the sign-in is Get Pro. That's what this is, Google Earth Pro, free. But again, that should not happen. What did happen is that when I come here and I say, yes, I want to download that, it will come down here to my download file. It's going to generically say, oh, this computer could harm your computer, and that's because it's an executable file. All right, so I'm going to say keep, and then it's going to download it. So then when I actually open that, what I get is Google Earth Pro. So Google Earth Pro has the same capabilities as the web version, but with a lot more bells and whistles. And again, it's completely free. So I would come up here and I would search Virginia Beach Pier and hit the search, Virginia Beach Fishing Pier, and zoom, zoom, zoom. And you can watch in the right-hand corner. And there we go, nice and zoomed. And one of the things about the Pro version is you get a lot more choices about, are we taking our visual and are we looking at just the surface of the water? How much underneath of the water are we seeing? And the altitude, the eye altitude on the Chrome, on the this version here, let me go back to our picture here. What they call the camera is what Google Earth Pro calls the eye altitude. So it's a slight little bit of difference. Here's your elevation and there's your lat long. What's amazing about this is that once you put your pen in, and so where are the pen features? Here's the pen. I'm going to obviously zoom in a little bit. I'm going to take my pen and move it right where I want it to go. And again, before you take your screenshot, make absolutely sure that your mouse is at the same place as the pen, which as you can see in this picture is 0 meters. And so I will hit my Windows icon and my print screen, and now I have auto-saved that. Looks like my mouse moved when I did that. The cool thing about this is when you do a path, which is this ruler, and you say, I want to make a path, then you can click the starting point. Oh, hello. Okay, so before I can show you the path, I have to finish off my pen. As you can see, the pen is flashing. What it's asking you to do is to make some information about it. And nothing on my screen here is reminding me to do that. And that is because I have dual monitors. So I'm going to bring this over. Whenever you do one of these tools up here, a box will open asking you to title this. So this will be Landfall Gloria. You can also look at things as altitude, and this is kind of cool because right now your altitude is being clamped to the ground, which is 0 sea level. You could also say, I want to clamp that to the sea floor, and say, okay. And while it may not matter much for a pen, when I go to do a path, so here's my the ruler, and I want to create a path. So here's my starting point, and I want to take it all the way offshore. There's one point, and there's the other point. So I'm going to save this guy, and it's going to ask me, this is my, I'm going to call this cross profile. Terrible handwriting. When I come to altitude, I want to make sure I want to clamp it to the seafloor so that I can see an elevation profile. And all of these places that I just made show up over here. So when I click on this terrible handwriting of cross profile and I say show my elevation profile, you can see that I now have the elevation under the water going from the shore to about 0.8 meters deep. And of course it's backwards because I started my line here over to there instead of the other way around. So you can mess with that as you do it. But having the Pro, which is a free program, offers a whole lot more options for you to do analysis using Google Earth. So I hope that that helps, and good luck with your learning technology and expanding your horizons.